Hi. Uh, I've got 50 books published on Amazon's Kindle, and I thought I would bring your attention to them. I think a lot of them are pretty good. Oh. Um, I've been publishing books to Kindle for about 3 years now. And as I say, I got 50 books published, and I thought I would go through them. So this is going to probably take more than one video to do. I'll put the camera on a book cover and let you know what it's about. But oh, I don't want to turn this off. I'll do it now. Okay, they're out of order, so hey. All right. One of the books I published is called Propeller Wars 5 From the Barrier. This is the last book about when I was Mutania on Netscape's Propeller, where I'd comment on stories and got a lot of flack from Muslims and liberals and stealth Muslims for my exposing stuff that they didn't want exposed from the Quran and Hadith mainly. And it's not going to be the last one. There's two others, at least, that will follow for the conclusion. By the way, this is an artwork I did called The Barrier that I used as my book cover. Another one is called Mutania Under Attack. Same sort of thing when I was on Netscape's Propeller. As you can see, I published this one on March 24th, 2014, and this one March 18th, 2014. Okay, next book, even though it's out of order, this is a Spanish version of a play I wrote called Nightmare from the Golden Gate. Here it's called Pasadilla de la Puerta de Oro, a play in 2 acts, Spanish edition. It's a science fiction play about a Christian terrorist. Of course, he's not out to kill anybody. He's out to warn people about what he feels is taking place in the Middle East and how it relates to Bible prophecy. In the process, he actually brings about the end of the world. It's called Nightmare from the Golden Gate. Climbs up on the Golden Gate, and trouble is, he ends up, he brings about the end of the world with what he exposes. What happens is he has a backpack full of smoke detectors that radiation signature gives off the same as a proton bomb. As you can, it's in the future. It's way in the future, actually. Another book I wrote is called Propeller Wars 3. It's a submarine being attacked by depth charges, and as they blow up, they give off. And this, if you can see, that's it's a Muslim flag. It's got the crescent moon on it, and as these things blow up around it, you can see scriptures from the Quran going off around it. This book, it's another Mutania book. During the time when I was talking with Mutania, when I was talking as Mutania on Netscape's Propeller. Okay, now here's the original, the English version of Nightmare from the Golden Gate, which I published March 6th, 2014, a little over a year ago. Then there's another one. This one's called Propeller Wars 2. Same thing, Mutania, trying to defend America and Israel against stealth Muslims and liberals who were all they could were very pro blamer. I think those books are kind of entertaining. Here's the first Propeller Wars, which I wrote February 28th, 2014. But it's really a sequel to other Propeller Wars that came earlier. This is the first one that's called Propeller Wars. Others like called Mutania Wars and things like that. This is a screenplay called My Dinner with Ahmed. Kind of like My Dinner with Andre, except he's Muslim. And he is out of Islam and he's being hunted. He tells his friend what happened when he was working as a computer repairman who came upon a computer that held the videos and writings of the lead from my first thing I ever published on Amazon's Kindle called Trucker Jihad. Daniel Kobashi. And trouble is, it gets him out of Islam when he's reading it, and then he becomes hunted by by fellow Muslims. And it's pretty good. Now this is a French version of my my novella called The Wrath of Ramadar. If that looks like a giant Muslim with a Godzilla breath shooting out of his mouth, yeah, it is. Here's the German version of that same story, and the Spanish version. And then I did one that was a sequel to it, but not really a sequel. It's just like another episode of it, called Call Me Jibril, but this is the German version of that. I'll tell you about The Wrath of Ramadar. The Wrath of Ramadar is actually I would call it a parable about how to end the war on terror, but done through science fiction, kind of like Gulliver's Travels, Jonathan Swift sort of thing. And it's a cross between Star Trek, Ultraman, and Doctor Who. That's how I labeled it. But I thought it was entertaining. But as I was saying, this next one here, this is the German version of Call Me Jibril. That's the Kaaba, but there's another part to it. It forms this giant robot, comes up, and it starts walking like Kronos with electricity. I mean, with the lightning shooting out all over the place. There's a guy that's getting zapped from it. And what happens in Call Me Jibril, the same people that we meet in the same crew and captain that we meet in The Wrath of Ramadar, try to hunt down this super mutant being who went back in the past to try to give pointers to Muhammad on how to make Islam victorious. You find out by reading that Call Me Jibril that the being from the future is actually the one that created Islam. But Muhammad's 7th century thinking got into the Quran and made it so Islam dies out in our century. So the being goes back in time to give pointers to Muhammad to try to make it idiot-proof, to the point where it will... and he does such a good job of it that it ends up creating Borgs and stuff. Oh, you know, I better quit it here. Yeah. I better stop it here. I think I'm